Welcome to Topic Talks, where we talk about the topics you care about and leave out the ones you don't.
We talk about what most news sources don't: media, movies, and the multiverse.
We even invite guests to come talk topics with us.
Come join in on the fun.
Let's get started. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the giant conversation of this Topic Talks. I'm your host, Trent Klingsmith. Joining me once again today is Matthew. Hey, Matthew.
Heyo.
And not joining us again is neither Lucas or Mark. And then on top of that, I invited two more people to come on because I knew Lucas and Mark weren't going to be on, and they're not here either.
What are we going to do with them?
Where are all the people at?
That's right. Where are all the people at?
There's no people around here. So Matthew, how was your week?
My week?
Your week.
Pretty good. So, yeah, it's been interesting. I finally got around to doing that driver's test thingy and passed.
Woo!
We'll stay off the road.
Look out, world! Here Matthew comes.
But yeah, it was absolutely terrifying. But it's done, so I'm happy.
It's done, and you don't ever have to. Well, I wouldn't say you never have to do it again.
Yeah.
You may at one point have to do it again.
Yeah. Well, hopefully not.
But that'll be after years and years and years of driving.
Yeah.
You'll be like,
Now I just have to actually drive for realsies, and that's big enough on its own. So.
Right. Now I've had a pretty full week. I'm trying to. I don't even remember what I did. I mowed lawns. I was running around yesterday like crazy. I mowed lawns, or I started off, instead of going to church, I went for something for church. So we have this farmer's market in Grand Blanc, and I went to the farmer's market with my church. We set up a tent, we put out a table, and we put out, a couple brochures of our church, some, a list of events, and a couple things like that. And we also have these cards, the random act of kindness cards. So we got that. And then I took Charlie with me, and I put him in a shirt that said Kirkridge Presbyterian Church on it. So he was walking around strutting that off. And he probably made a lot more friends than I did. And so we did that. He got antsy, so I took him home, let him sleep it off in his kennel. I went and mowed lawns. And then, and in the middle of that, I got my new 10-foot audio, or not audio, but my new 10-foot Android cords.
Nice.
Which I was waiting for in the mail. And I got a new business card holder for my pocket, which is very easy to open. Holds a lot of cards, so when I take chunks out of them and set them in random places,
bougie.
I still have enough to hand out to people. So that's cool. So I got that when I got home the first time, and I was eating, and the sky was looking kind of like I wasn't gonna be able to mow. And after about an episode of the new series that I was following, which was The Magicians, I watched an episode of that, packed up, drove. It was a beautiful day the rest of the day. Got that lawn done. I think I went over to my grandma's for a few minutes, talked with some family that was in town. Then I went home, dropped off my stuff, changed into pants because it got cold. And I went over to a buddy of mine, and I was there until about midnight. And then I got home, and I was going to do show prep. I'm tired, and I'm gonna go to bed. So, and then I watched one of our Netflix pick of the week earlier this week, because I saw it was on Netflix. And this is really quick, funny story about this. So, I've been going through Netflix trying to find like partners to things, like movies that I can find very comparable to one another, because that's how I try to pick what two movies we're gonna have.
Yeah.
And I saw Around the World in 80 Days was on there. And I'm like, man, what was that movie with Wild Wild West? Is that on there? And I looked, and when I first researched it wasn't on there. I'm like, man, that would have been a good pick. So then, and this was before they added everything to Netflix. So then I'm sitting there, and okay. So I'm trying to, and I never came up with anything. I looked the other day, and I'm like, oh, look, Around the World in 80 Days is coming on. I'll check again. And I checked, and Wild Wild West was on there. I got so excited. I jumped up, and I watched it immediately. So I watched Wild Wild West, but it was like, and there have been a couple of pairs of things that have popped on Netflix, and I'm like, I can do them on the show now. And then there's a couple that they have all three. Like, they've got all three Cheetah Girls, And then there was another one that they had like 3 movies,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, we could compare sequels.
Sequel comparison is always an interesting one, especially when you're talking about stuff like Cheetah Girls, because sometimes like these movies, like they really don't deserve a sequel all the time, and then they start to
2
get
was
really weird.
Cheetah Girls 2 was good.
Okay.
Good.
I'll take your word
3
for
was
it.
really weird
All right.
because they dropped Raven Simone, and they were in India.
Doesn't Raven have a new show now?
I don't know. Does she?
I thought that premiered recently.
It might have.
I'll have to double check.
You should. No. Anyway, so, yeah. But Netflix worked out for me this time.
Mm-hmm.
They took off some stuff that I was watching, which was irritating.
Yeah.
But other than that, they put on some stuff that kind of made me happy because now I can talk about it on the show, and watch it again and relive my childhood. So, well, I'm glad you had a good week. I had a pretty decent week.
Yeah.
And I had a good
It's
day
all
at
good
work.
in the world.
So yeah. Everything is good with the world. You know what else is good?
What?
What this cop did to a shoplifter.
Oh my God.
Oh
That
my-
almost sounded like a segue.
It was. So this cop did an amazing thing for this guy who was a shoplifter, which is never a sentence I ever thought I would utter.
Okay. What did you?
So, it's not always often that shoplifters get a second chance. But there was one 18-year-old that found, or that found a reprieve, and and this is funny because this is a compassionate Canadian constable. I feel like if there's any compassionate constables out there, they would be Canadian.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of not surprised this happened in Canada, eh? So the youth have been caught attempting to steal a dress shirt and tie and socks from a Toronto Walmart earlier this week. What is CONS? Is that constable?
I'm assuming so. Yes.
Okay. So Constable Nira was then called into the scene by the store's loss prevention, and the shoplifter was detained. Upon taking the perpetrator, or talking with the perpetrator, however, the constable discovered that he had tried to steal the products in order to prepare for a job interview, and that on Tuesday, without any of these resources, finances to his name whatsoever, he felt the only way to be able to prepare for this was to shoplift the tie, the shirt, and the socks.
Mm-hmm.
So they released him without any charges, and then the officer secretly bought the clothes and gave them to the youth for his job interview. And he quoted, he said, "This young man has been facing his own difficulties in life and was looking to straighten out all that out by providing for his family and trying to get a job." So I think this is kind of again, if this happened anywhere, Canada is the first place I would have guessed.
Mm-hmm.
The U.S. probably the second, or maybe some other. But I mean,
Yeah.
the first would be Canada.
Yeah.
So I was not surprised when a Canadian constable.
I forget what that's called. Isn't it like an alliteration where you like repeat the same like sound at the beginning of your word? I just like the sound, like compassionate Canadian constable.
Well, it's kind of like the Blaine Fowler fall fling at the Fillmore with the Fray.
All right, that's a tongue twister. I'm not even going to try that one.
That was the one that they did at WDVD, and Blaine couldn't even say it. He was like the and
Sally sold seashells by the seashore.
Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. How many pickled peppers did Peter Piper pick?
A lot.
A lot.
Yeah, there we go.
Anyway, so what do you think about this, Matthew?
I don't know. I think this is sweet. I think, on a more
all my
serious.
stories are sweet.
Of course they are. On a more serious note, though, I always think that is something. I mean, it's always difficult. Even myself, sometimes I see, poor people, beggars, and whatnot. It's like, and there's always that assumption where it's like they're, I don't know. I don't know what the right phrase is, but I guess best I can come up with, and this is still like putting it mildly, rough around the edges. It's like, you always think that they're you know, so different from you, but not really. And in so many cases, it's the fact that yes, they are poor, they're homeless, they're, whatever. It's like, and they don't have resources to these basic necessities, and that only furthers the distance between us.
Right.
So, sort of what, this constable did with the clothing. Like, guess what? If you show up in, not looking your best, so to speak, you don't come in with that nice suit and tie, people do look down on you a little bit more. Or at the
Oh,
very least, they look uh, more highly on people who do wear that stuff. But if you own that stuff, chances are you're privileged enough where you have the money to afford it. So,
right. Well, one of them, or in one of my classes when I went to specs was literally all about interviewing and your resume.
hmm
We spent majority of our time sitting there editing our resume.
yeah.
Literally like 90% of our time it would be, okay, we edit this, edit this, edit this. We take it up to the teacher. We wait in line. She reads them all. And she would literally, you're like, it's perfect this time. And she'd go, no, take this out. How about this? No.
Yep.
And she'd always look for a way to make it better. And even when she checked, even when she put a check on it, and you took it back up there, she'd find a way, like you took it up there all nicely on resume paper, and she'd check it some more. And I'm like, man, the crap's expensive.
hmm
Don't write on it.
Yeah.
And then I'm wasting it because every time you go for a job interview, you print it off on resume paper, you take it in, and every job interview that I went to, there was only one that like actually took it,
hmm
and that was for my internship. All the other ones are like, no, I think we all got a copy. Yeah, this is yours, right? Yeah. Like, yeah. Now I got like, and I didn't want to throw them away. They were sitting in my book for like a month
hmm
because it's like $20 a box for
Yeah.
those, for the anyway. So I get a little bit off track. So we were sitting in the class and we were talking about how to dress for an interview, and somebody brought up, they're like, half these radio station people don't dress like that. And the teacher's like, yeah, I know, but it's been a standard in the business world that we perceive, or that we be perceived that we dress a certain way for
Yep.
interviews. It's just that she's like, it's not, it's a completely different thing. When once you get hired in, yeah, dress a little bit for the first couple weeks until you kind of get, the kind of the flow of things and how everything's working. And then, if everybody's always casual, you dress casual. If everybody's always dressed up, you dress up. But it takes a little while to get that. But they're like, we've just kind of built this stereotype that when you get in, you sit down, you oversell yourself, and you dress up. And like I said, I've always questioned that, but you got to do what you got to do.
Yep.
Now, one thing that I do like, there are a lot of people, or a lot of or like there's a lot of ways to get suits. Like there's they'll have different types of job fairs where they'll have a whole bunch of people with jobs, but they'll also be able to like they'll like have like a workshop before where they'll give you donated suits and shirts and ties and dress shoes, and they'll get you all ready for the interview.
hmm
Maybe loan you maybe they'll have some computers there and they'll let you get your resume up to snuff. So then when you go to the job fair, you look presentable.
hmm
I've also heard that they have that at some job fairs. So I wonder if it's like a room where you can get ready and kind of get everything ready, and then you go in and you can apply for different things.
Yep.
So, but I mean, there were some where it's even like, you go in dressed up, you sit down, you do an interview right there, and then you get up and you walk away, and they let you know later if they'll let you know later if we can, if they hire you. So I don't know. I guess it's something that society has kind of already predetermined. You need to wear a suit. You need to have a resume on expensive resume paper, and you need to oversell yourself, even if it's not you.
Yep.
And it's wrong, but it does lead to things like this, where people who are fighting very hard to dress up and look nice and look presentable, but some people don't have the means for it.
hmm
Like I don't know if you ever saw the movie that Will Smith did, was Pursuit of Happiness.
I've heard of it. I haven't seen it.
Ooh,
But
it's
yeah.
a really good movie.
Yep.